Here at the Air Museum, we like to celebrate aviators of all stripes, all shapes, all colors. One of my favorite parts of the museum is our Women of Flight exhibit. Our Women of Flight exhibit celebrates 8 of the historical aviators that have made a true impact on aviation. And of course, any list of female aviators would be incomplete without mentioning Amelia Earhart, one of the founding members of the famous 99s air race group and a record holder that accomplished many of the first feats in aviation for female pilots. Most famous for crossing the Atlantic as the first female. She accomplished many things throughout her career, including winning several air races. On display in our museum, we have a couple of artifacts directly from her family. Both the scarf and a shirt that we have on display underneath the Vega actually came from Muriel, one of her relatives. We're very happy to have this. This is a Hollywood prop of the famous red Vega that Amelia Earhart flew in the last couple years of her career. We have photographs of Miss Earhart on top of her red Vega pouring engine oil into the aircraft at the same time she's wearing the red shirt that we have on display underneath the aircraft. Now, this isn't a real airplane. This weighs about half what the rest of the aircraft on display weigh. It's made out of plywood. So when you open the door, it's an interesting experience to smell a lumber yard when you're opening up an aircraft that is supposed to be one of the first all-metal airplanes. This does have some things that we've upgraded. When we got the prop from Hollywood, we decided to make it a little bit more realistic. So our guys in the basement installed the actual correct engine for powering the aircraft if this was a real Vega. The propeller is also original to an aircraft of that era. So even though this isn't a real aircraft, we've done what we could here in the museum to make it more of an aircraft than it was. The thing about Amelia Earhart that I like to mention is she's the first person in history to get an endorsement deal. On display inside this display case, we have one of her famous Amelia Earhart suitcases. During that era, it was common for Hollywood types, for starlets, for movie stars. They like to have their photographs taken in faraway, exotic places, like the airport. So often they would have these photographs of them jetting off to faraway locations, holding essentially an old carpet bag. When she was approached by the American Tourister Company for an endorsement deal, they offered her a small amount of money for each suitcase sold. So she was the first person, like a Michael Jordan, that instead of having his name on a sneaker, she had her name on suitcases. We have one on display next to the shirt that her sister Muriel gave our museum. The interesting part to that story is now, 80 years later, it's a frequent experience for somebody to come to the front door of the museum with a suitcase in their hand saying they want to donate Amelia's suitcase. And it's one of these that American Tourister put her name on years ago.